Hello and welcome to I Am with Eric Faria. Today I have my special guest, Roberta Tachihara. She's here visiting from California. We are in New York right now. And we were talking last week about all sorts of things related to realization process. So I want to continue our conversation and okay, Roberta, welcome again.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. A week has passed by very fast.
Yeah.
So,
So, as I was mentioning
yes, please.
previously,
We're talking about the body, right?
we're talking about the organizations of the body and all the conditionings that we have inside our tissues. We call this the issues in the tissues. So we play around the words so that we memorize that it's real. And so I was mentioning about parts of the body that lots of people have constrictions, even though it's very individualized how we really constrict our body, how we tense up, how we close to the experience that we have or we had when we were little. People do in a different way. There are certain things that are very common that most of human beings do that. So I was talking about the pelvis and talk about the belly and also the chest, the abdominal area, the chest. And then I would like to talk a little bit about the neck.
Sure.
And the neck is very interesting because I have been working with people for a while, and the neck is one of the most difficult areas for people to find and to be present. And last week we are doing the practice of the hands, and I'm saying find and feel your hands internally. So when I give the instructions about the neck, people normally they have a lot of difficulty to find the neck. And the reason is the neck is related to also our power to speak, to express ourselves. And as a child, many times our parents told us to shut up, or you want to scream, and they say don't.
Yeah.
So
we have to be quiet. Yeah.
we have to be quiet. And so we learn to be quiet by constricting the neck and become absent here. So another area of the neck that people don't think about much is food. Also, as a child, many times they give you something that you do not want to eat, but it's good for your health.
Yes.
You know,
Like vegetables.
Like vegetables. Your parents are not doing that because they hate you. It's because they love you.
Sure.
And that's why it's important to understand it's not about only traumas or horrible things, but also good things that the parents are doing, but we don't understand and we don't want to do because we are a child at that time. So we constrict. So if they are giving us certain food that we do not want to eat, and they are forcing to eat and forcing to eat, we started to constrict also inside of the neck. So tissues inside of the neck. Most people who have issues with food, nutrition, diet, weight, normally they have constrictions not only here, but also constrictions in the neck.
Wow,
because
that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is really amazing how this impact also our whole life, in fact, because we get nutrition from here.
Right.
Also. So it's an area that a lot of people do not find, but we work with it until, and there's ways of, techniques and ways of that I guide so people can find their neck and also find the power of their voice. Finding the right to express yourself. How many people we know that they don't express their needs, they don't express their necessities, they don't even know their needs, and also they know they cannot express. Another area that we constrict a lot, believe it or not, is our head, our brain. And also here, people press a lot. I think school, trying to understand, trying to know more than you know, or this is too difficult. We constrict a lot of the head as well. So this is also an area that we work with. So people sometimes have headache, sinus
I used to have a
headache.
lot of headaches as a kid. Yes.
Yeah, so this is mainly focusing or feeling that, oh, I'm not smart enough. And that feeling also, it's pervasive for a whole life until you really clear that. And it's important to clear because we don't want to carry those constrictions anymore.
No.
It's important now to release them. Very important for our health.
To let them go.
Yeah.
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 So, as you were talking about these different areas of the body and how we connect with them, so I am assuming that a process of transformation occurs, correct?
Oh, definitely. A
So,
deep transformation.
what happens in
Yeah.
during that transformation?
Yeah, so what happened is first, this is not a linear process,
Mm-hmm.
even though as you practice, you will feel that you're more and more present in your body. And some people think, oh, if I do this, I'm going to be present here. And it doesn't happen this way. It's like almost like a spiral. And you can be becoming really present in certain areas that you were not. And it's beautiful to see. It's really beautiful to witness the transformation that happens. So the person normally changes a lot.
Right.
And I have my family telling me how much I changed, and that's good because family normally don't see that.
No.
And they say, wow, you are a different person now. Much calmer, much more tolerant, more respectful. It's really beautiful. So this transformation happens quite fast, in fact, because areas that we have already psychologically worked on, they are released faster also because they are ready. So
Even if they have been there for decades?
oh, decades. I have a lady who is 82 years old, and she came to my house and have a class with me. We were not even doing private session. It was a class with others.
Yeah.
And she released something from her shoulders when she was 2 years old.
Wow.
And she's 82.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
So she carried that for 80 years.
Decades. Yeah,
Wow.
8 decades, 80 years. So things that are disconnected are connected again. And also, physiologically, there is also a response to that. So neurologically, the brain connects to areas that you have been completely disconnected for decades. So it brings health also. This is also very important. People with pain also. And I have had people who came because they have pain, and the pain goes like this. Even if there is a physical cause for the pain. Even myself, I had that also. So pain really reduced because a lot of the pain is caused by constrictions. We do not know even why they are there. So the transformation also helps, happens not only in terms of emotions or in terms of physical sensations and reducing pain or even getting rid of pain, but the transformation also is in finding your individuality, finding who you are. And that matches with the program because we are here into I am.
Yeah.
And if you ask, who am I? We have a lot of ideas, but this fundamental consciousness, this divine consciousness that is really us, it's present here now, not when you're totally purified. It's already here.
Sure.
And that's why we can connect with it now. And that's the beauty of it. So in discovering this this consciousness, we find our individuality. And we can talk about that. What's the result of that?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, so I want to talk definitely more about that. And so hold that thought, and we will be right back after this. Stick with us. Hello and welcome back to I Am with Eric Faria. Today I have Roberta Tachihara with me, and we were talking about individuality, right? In the first segment. So can you talk about individuality a little bit more and how that
related to the process.
To the process.
Yes. I want to, because this is a very important point. The reason it's very important because people think that first, if they pay attention to themselves, they are selfish. And what happened is, in working with this process, which is such a deep, work, it showed me that, in fact, as you contact yourself deeply, that's how you contact another. So that's already throw the selfish card to the trash,
Right.
which is wonderful. So as you become more present in the body, again, we are not just present in the body, we're present in the space between the tissues in the body. So that consciousness comes from within. You cannot force your consciousness to be here right now. Excuse me, consciousness?
Come here.
I am telling you, be here. It doesn't happen that way.
Sure.
It's like a flower.
Right.
The flower, as you have the environment proper and available for it, it will bloom, it will blossom.
In the right conditions.
In the right conditions. So what we are doing is we are just softening, we are opening. The consciousness is already there. It's not something we created. It's already there. And this is mentioned in the ancient traditions of the Eastern society and philosophies.
Right.
So this is mentioned in the Hinduism, Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. So in fact, those practices also were only available for high monks, who are practicing hours and hours of meditation a day, or gurus or yogis who are really going toward enlightenment.
Right.
That's why it's called realization process. So they were used to practice. They practice that now. And the reason we are bringing this now to the Western society and also to our daily lives is because you can benefit from it. Even you do not need to have enlightenment, but you can benefit from releasing all that you do not need to carry anymore.
Right.
So as you become more present, your consciousness it really comes to the surface more and more, and you begin to discover your own individuality, who you are, who you really are. Not as I said before, the mental construction, the mental constructed ideas, but who you really are. And then you feel, you sense, you know. Also, the senses become unified. What you see, you feel. And what you feel, you see, you can hear. You can taste. There is a whole unification of the senses. It's a very different experience of life. So with this consciousness, you become really alive. And that is an emanation of light as when the person enters, even when the person enters the pain, and I think I mentioned to you when we worked a little bit together, in the moment even the person enters a pain that they are feeling, there's an emanation of light. That's why it's called enlightenment, really, because they are now really present in themselves, and that's important. So the beautiful part of this individuality and discover this individuality is that once you discover this individuality, you also transcend it at the same time. It means that as I connect deeply with myself, I connect deeply with you, with any person, and also the environment that I am. The flowers, you can see how alive nature becomes. Everything, you can see in a different way. So there is a connection with everyone, and that's why you have more compassion toward everyone. And also, in this individuality, the discovery of yourself, you will discover your needs, your necessities, not the conditioned ones that you had because someone told you or you wanted to please someone else, but your real necessities, your real needs, something that is important for you. Like even recognition, for example, is something that many times, it's okay, it's okay. No, recognition is something important.
Yeah, I used to be the worst at that. Always saying, I am not really that good. I don't know how to do that. Deflecting the compliments that people gave me.
Yeah, but it's important. And also because there was a part of yourself that blocked that. It's like, I don't even know. Who am I? How can you say something? And who is this person saying this about me? That's not true because also I'm bad, I'm this, I'm that. So there's all these constructed ideas are not there anymore. So you can really accept that compliment and say, oh, thank you. And feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
You don't need to feel superior.
Laugh about yourself.
Laugh about yourself, exactly. And also you laugh much more also about your own mistakes, which is great. That by itself is already great because you don't feel that you need to be perfect anymore.
Right.
The consciousness is perfect. This consciousness is, it doesn't move, it's not created. This consciousness there's a quality of unwavering. It's like, it doesn't shake it up. It's always there, it's always present, and it's always perfect. And that's what is coming to the surface as you open more and more. Normally, I like to give an analogy that it's easier for people to understand.
Sure.
So two analogies I have that I like to give, and I will give both because people can feel in a different way. One is the screen of a movie theater, you know.
Yeah.
So when
like
you
the
go
big
to the
screen.
movie theater, you have the screen, and then you have the movie that is passing in the screen that you see there is being reflected
Like from the
there.
projector, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So what I call the stillness, and this is deeper than the level of energy. A lot of people think, oh, it's the energy and the Reiki or the chakras, and I will say no. We have matter, and you can experience that in three ways. You can experience yourself, in 3 ways. You experience yourself as matter, which is physical body. You experience yourself as energy, and when we merge to others, what I just mentioned, or you experience yourself as a stillness. And stillness is the depth of your being, as the screen. The screen does not change because the movie was a comedy, a tragedy, or something bad happened.
Sure, the screen's always there.
Always there.
Yeah.
It is unaffected by. So your stillness, your consciousness is unaffected by everything that is happening. But it's always there to help you.
Sure.
Also, creativity comes a lot with this contact with your real essence. And another analogy that I like to use is the sea. When you are in the surface of yourself, it's like water. You are in the waves. The waves are like beaten and a lot of movement.
Sure.
You know, it's excitement, but maybe too much excitement, too much.
Yeah.
And then as you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the sea, there is a stillness there. And that's our consciousness. And it's full of life. People think, oh, it's going to be boring. No, it's the opposite. It's full of life, full of life.
So just like the ocean.
Just like the ocean, which is life. Water is life.
Yeah, and
Is it-
everything that comes with the water, like all the fish and the animals and everything.
Yeah, and the beauty,
Yeah.
colorful. So the color of life becomes a real experience, not just an abstract idea. It's really experiencing that. And that's worth working with.
For sure. I like that. So we're going to stop here for this segment, but we will be right back. So stick with us, and we will come back right after this. Hello, and welcome back to I Am with Eric Faria. And today I have Roberta Tachihara. And Roberta, so we are talking about this. We talked last week, we're talking this week about the realization process. So sometimes I feel that other people, and I even felt this in my life before, that all this self-consciousness, this awareness, being present in the body, and just being awakened, right? That it was so distant, that it was something so complicated, so hard for me. So what do you say to that?
So let me tell you something. It's and for people who are watching all these segments that we have been doing since last week, it's much more difficult to explain than to experience.
I agree.
And it's good that it's not the other way around.
Right.
So in fact, the experience is easier, and one of the reasons is because your consciousness is already here. Also, you did not create it, so it's already here. It was already created, not by you. So it's not something that you have to figure it out. The only thing we do is to practice. And practice a little bit every day is very important. More important that you practice several hours in one day. So just a little bit, it changes and brings such a different way of seeing life and become in the present moment. And even when something happened, you're ready. As the Tibetan monk once said, you're not going to sharpen your sword when the enemy is coming. It should be ready. It was a
Right.
funny analogy for
Yes,
Tibetan monk.
right.
He said, the moment the war, you're not going to shop. You have to shop beforehand. It's because we are doing meditation with the Tibetan monks also together. And that's also how I say, because if you practice to be present, to be in yourself, to release those conditionings, then it's much easier when something happens in our life, some difficult condition or situation, that we are much more present and aware to handle that in a different way. So it's a really wonderful to practice also.
I see. So how can people who are watching us begin to practice this?
Okay.
And I know you do this because this is what you teach to all your students. So.
Yes, yes, and I teach people online. So
Yeah.
even if
Like
I'm in
you did with
California,
me
exactly,
online.
I use the Zoom platform to teach online. I have clients in Europe. I have clients in France, students and clients in France, in Spain, in Seattle, LA,
Wow.
here, Connecticut, New York,
The internet
Brazil.
is amazing.
Yeah. In several areas of Brazil, which is also a big country. So it's, in fact, internet is great for that, because when we are working with this, we are working with the field of consciousness. And there is no time and space there. Space doesn't exist. What is happening, I'm there with them. And I can feel, and I can see, and I can help to guide. And that's very important, so the person is not alone. But even if, and I teach classes and I do private sessions. So private sessions is when people want to work their own particular issues, and then we work more deeply. And also I do that through Zoom, and works really beautiful. I like to work with that because that has no problem. And so another thing that people can do is, we did last week the scent of the palms.
Yeah, the palms, yeah.
So I suggest everybody to look at that last segment of the last week, to go to the center of your hands and just relax and be present there in the center of the hands, so that you can be in yourself. And pay attention where you are not in your body, or if you feel something, just become aware of that. To be really present in your feet, for example, as you walk. See if you can feel your feet on the floor, not thinking about the feet, but feeling the feet, finding the feet internally. So that will already help to bring more presence in the present moment and wherever action someone is doing.
Right. And you mentioned briefly in the last week's episode about the 3 points of being able to release, right? To let go. So what are they, so people can be aware?
Yeah. So it's not exactly a point of release, but when we work with the technique of releasing holding patterns, we are not only releasing the tissues in the body, because that is going to be connected with physical sensation, but we are going to also be releasing emotions and awareness. So thoughts, so we divide for the sake of organization in our mind, in awareness, emotions, and physical sensations.
Okay.
So these also are qualities of this consciousness. And that you can also, as you become more aware and the emotions are free, there is a platform of emotions, a ground of emotions, which is a quality of this fundamental consciousness. So it's also an entranceway to the deeper you.
I see.
This deeper you that exists here.
Yeah.
So all of these 3 qualities are entranceways also to be more present in the consciousness and allowing the consciousness to be operating through you. So you are kind of a vessel.
Yeah, great.
And yourself at the same time. It's like you are the vessel of the consciousness, but you are the consciousness.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to,
I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. So, okay. So coming back to like the theme of the show, right? I am, and connecting with ourselves and being aware, becoming present. What would you say is the lesson that has taken you the longest to learn?
Wow, the lesson. I think it has been, I have been working with is the softening, softening, and really becoming less rigid, becoming really allowing myself to be. And in this allowing myself to be, because I had a lot of fear, I discovered from my really early childhood. I accessed something as I was 6 months old. So in that 6 months old, I was very afraid of my mother. And as you imagine, it has permeated my, whole life. It was pervasive everywhere in my body.
Right.
So I got in contact with that. And in that, holding that fear made me really rigid and afraid and like protecting myself.
Right.
So now, and that's the longest one I'm working, because fear goes all into the bones. Believe it or not, you can be present in the bones.
Wow.
It's amazing, amazing. When
That's really deep.
that's really deep.
Yeah.
So in releasing that, I realized I didn't need to be so rigid to myself, toward others. I don't have to have boundaries here. A lot of people talk about boundaries. Your boundary is your own skin. Your skin is your boundary because you're inside of your skin. You don't go merge with people. You connect from this depth of connection of yourself. So becoming softer. And that's for me, I think, the number one, removing the defenses that are not necessary. There's no one attacking me right now. I don't need to be afraid, and really clearing that. That's for me, I think, number one. And that's a big transformation because it also shifts several segments or facets of your life, several facets of my life and relationships. So one thing that I didn't touch much today during this realization process or the Self Awakens class is that it shifts relationships, because it shifts the relationship with yourself. As it shifts the relationship with yourself, it shifts all other relationships with others and with life in general. And that's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why it's so transformational, because imagine, it transforms all relationships.
Okay, that is amazing. So let's awaken ourselves.
Yes,
Right?
please, let's really do
Please.
this work. That is techniques, there are ways of doing. It's available now. It used not to be decades ago, but now it's available here.
Yeah.
So we can do that.
Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am awakened.
I'm pure consciousness, life.
Yes.
Yeah, to feel organically, not just an abstract idea, but to experience that with everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to everyone watching, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed both last week's episode and this week. And all the information to contact my special guest, Roberta Tachihara, is going to be at the end of the show. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.